Back at it again with the Mobius Dickus, chapter 119, The Candles. So this chapter continues our focus on Ahab after chapter 118, the Quadrants, discussion of Ahab's pursuit. Ahab even doubles down more in this chapter after the appearance of St. Elmo's fire. Now, this chapter is pretty confusing unless you use a companion of some sort to clue you into what corpusants are, which was a 19th century way of referring to St. Elmo's fire. Now, what's St. Elmo's fire? Well, that is a phenomena in which there is the appearance of flame or lightning that is created by having a pointed object in a strong electric field. So this would occur pretty constantly at sea when there were thunderstorms and lightning storms, and the lightning rods on a ship that would prevent it from being destroyed by being struck by lightning. Even if lightning did not strike the ship, the electrical field was strong enough to make St. Elmo's fire, this visual phenomena, appear on the ship. Corpusant is from the Latin of corpus and sanctum, so it means like holy body, hence like the holy body of St. Elmo, which is apparently thought mythologically to be on fire. So it's just a reference to the same phenomena of St. Elmo's fire. And by the way, St. Elmo was considered, which is one of the ways in English to talk about Erasmus, St. Erasmus was considered the patron saint of sailors. Okay, well that's a lot of background, but let's see what happens in the chapter. Everything's going pretty well until Starbuck calls the crew's attention to the rods, right? And then ultimately they look up and the yard arms all were tipped with a pallid fire, with white fire, and touched at each tri-pointed lightning rod end with 3 tapering white flames. Each of the 3 tall masts were silently burning in that sulphurous air like 3 gigantic wax tapers before an altar. Okay, so the ship is experiencing, something pretty crazy, right? Like St. Elmo's fire, looks like the top of the boat is burning, and of course the fact that there are 3 masts means that it looks like 3 candles, which obviously has some religious significance. Of course, what we're interested in here is how Ahab interprets the St. Elmo's fire, because we know what it is scientifically. There's nothing more to say there. What's interesting is what Ahab thinks about it. He starts to give a long speech before what Melville calls the lofty tri-pointed trinity of flame. So, there's more going on here than a discussion of St. Elmo's fire. Let's see what Ahab says. "O thou clear spirit of clear fire, whom on these seas as I as Persian once did worship," repeating the either stereotype or historical reference to Zoroastrianism that the Persians worshipped fire, which is in this book a lot when it comes to Fadala, "till in the sacramental act so burned by thee that to this hour I bear the scar, and now I know thee, thou clear spirit, and I now know that thy right worship is defiance." So Ahab says, I know you, God, and I know that the right thing to do is to defy you. "To neither love nor reverence wilt thou be kind, and even for hate thou canst but kill, and all are killed. No fearless fool now fronts thee. I own thy speechless, placeless power, but to the last gasp of my earthquake life will dispute its unconditional, unintegral mastery in me." So if there are many places in the book where Ahab expresses that his ultimate defining trait is his defiance, is his independence, is his refusal to allow the forces of anything, God, the ocean, Moby Dick, to be stronger than him. This is a pretty good summary of those feelings. But to the last gasp of my earthquake life dispute its unconditional, unintegral mastery in me. Well, there you go. Ahab's, again, a pretty self-conscious guy. "In the midst of the impersified impersonal, a personality stands here, though but a point at best, whencesoever I came, wheresoever I go. Yet while I earthly live, the queenly personality lives in me and feels her royal rights." So Ahab compares himself to a king or a queen in order to demonstrate his feeling that he's cosmically at the top. He doesn't want to be subordinate to anything or anyone. "But war is pain, and hate is woe. Come in thy lowest form of love, and I will kneel and kiss thee. But at thy highest come as mere supernal power, and though thou launchest navies of full-frighted worlds, there's that in here that still remains indifferent. So that's an interesting line from Ahab, right? It seems like he's willing to engage with God if he feels God's love, but he doesn't want to give in to a force, be it God or nature or the world, that is simply dominating him, that is stronger than him. He seems to represent this need for control, right? He is willing to give up his affection, but he's not willing to give up his control. O thou clear spirit, of thy fire thou madest me, and like a true child of fire I breathe back it to thee. Okay, so that's a nice little reciprocal phrase there. If God is this force of destruction and defiance, then Ahab sees himself as continuing his legacy if he exerts his own dominance, right? Like, what is the correct answer to someone who says that it is moral to dominate people? Well, I guess you dominate them. And Ahab is trying. Apparently there's flashes of lightning, which of course makes people and Ahab think that perhaps God is watching. I own thy speechless, placeless power, said I not so? Nor was it wrung from me, nor do I now drop these links. Thou canst blind, but I can then grope. So no matter what the world does to Ahab, it blinds him, he can still continue his defiance. Thou canst consume, but I can then be ashes. Take the homage of these poor eyes and shudder hands, I would not take it. The lightning flashes through my skull, mine eyeballs ache and ache, my whole beaten brain seems as beheaded and rolling on some stunning ground. Oh, yet blindfold, yet will I talk to thee. Okay, at some point, it feels like Ahab is, maybe he's insane. Maybe he is obsessive. Maybe he is proud. Maybe he is committing the deadliest of the 7 deadly sins, pride, right? Refusal to humble himself before the world. But you gotta respect the guy's hustle, right? Yet blindfold, I will talk to thee. Light thou though be, thou leapest out of darkness, but I am darkness leaping out of light, leaping out of thee. The javelins cease. Open eyes, see or not, there burn the flames. O thou magnanimous, now do I glory in my genealogy. But thou art but my fiery father, my sweet mother I know not. Okay, so, Ahab's conception of God is based on domination and power and control, not love, right? And I think that's probably where he goes wrong, if he goes wrong anywhere, is conceiving God as a Zeus-like figure. All of Ahab's addresses would make a lot of sense to Zeus. The question is whether you interpret God in the same way that Ahab does. On his own terms, if you see God as simply those forces which are more powerful than you, his revolt makes a lot of sense, but nevertheless. O cruel, what hast thou done with her, the sweet mother? There lies my puzzle, but thine is greater. Thou knowest not how came ye, hence callest thyself unbegotten. Certainly knowest not thy beginning, hence callest thyself unbegun. I know that of me, which thou knowest not of thyself, O thou omnipotent. So, wow, Ahab says, I even know more about myself than you know about yourself, because I know when I started, and God says that he has no beginning and no end. There is some unsuffusing thing beyond thee, thou clear spirit, to whom all thy eternity is but time, all thy creativeness mechanical. Wow, another provocative claim. Ahab says that God must have something that is behind him. Through thee, thy flaming self, my scorched eyes do dimly see it. O thou foundling fire, thou hermit immemorial, thou too hast thy incommunicable riddle, thy unparticipated grief. Here again with haughty agony I read my sire. Leap up and lick the sky. I leap with thee and burn with thee, would fain be welded with thee, defyingly I worship thee. So Ahab has decided that not only is he going to defy whatever world force dominates him, be it nature, God, time, whatever, but all those things must be subject to another thing, and if they experience the same thing he experiences, they would be in revolt as well. So I'm not sure whether it's wishful thinking in his mind that he hopes that they would understand what he's doing if they had the same experience, or whether he truly believes that there is like a world beyond nature or a world beyond God, but either way, he's willing to say it. Of course, I have marked in orange here Starbucks' rebuke of Ahab. At this point, Ahab has obviously been hinting that he has some, blasphemous or contradictory ideals to Christianity, but Starbuck's a good Christian boy, and he's not going to let that stand, right? And as Ahab has been saying all this, right, the lightning strikes Ahab's harpoon that the blacksmith Perth has just made, and it says that as the silent harpoon burned there like a serpent's tongue, Starbuck grasped Ahab by the arm. God, and sees this as a sign, right? God is against the old man. Forbear. Forbear means to refrain from doing something. It is an ill voyage, ill begun, ill continued. So Starbuck says, stop, you can't do this. It's very clear that what you're doing is either going against God or nature or something. Let me square the yards while we may, old man, and make a fair wind of it homewards to go on a better voyage than this, right? And Ahab's response, unfortunately, he doesn't listen to your boy. Instead, he grabs the harpoon and holds it in the air and says, all your oaths to hunt the white whale are as binding as mine, and heart, soul, body, lungs, and life old Ahab is bound. And that ye may know to what tune this heart beats, look ye here, thus I blow out the last fear. And then he blows out the fire that is on the harpoon that's been struck by lightning. So Starbuck's last attempt, I guess, to take Ahab away from his current path, but obviously it doesn't work. And the effect on the men is pretty, this is a foreboding end to what is chapter 119 out of 135, right? After this, we've only got 15 or so left. As in the hurricane that sweeps the plain, men fly the neighborhood of some lone gigantic elm, whose very height and strength but render it so much the more unsafe, because so much the more a mark for thunderbolts. So at those last words of Ahab's, many of the mariners did run from him in a terror of dismay. What a metaphor, right? Running away from a tree that might be struck by lightning. Same thing here. Ahab's pride, Ahab's obsession, Ahab's monomania seems to mark him as a target who will inevitably meet his downfall for overreaching against nature, God, human limitations, etc., etc. And the people seem to know it, but nevertheless, they're going to go with him. So we'll see what happens in the last 16 chapters of the book. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.